I'm just going to try. Is it working?
Yep.
So we should be going live here on YouTube, and then I'm going to try to start Facebook here and see if it works. Let's see if we can get all this technology together at the same time.
I'm supposed to ask you questions.
Yeah, if you have any questions while we're sitting there, feel free to go ahead and start typing them in. I got some people to help me read the questions and be able to see the questions. And so we'll kind of go ahead and get started and wait for questions. And hopefully one person logs in or so. I got Floyd here live with me, so that's good news. That he's going to be here to drill me with a bunch of questions. And Savannah's going to drill me with some good questions. She's back in the back corner hiding, so she's going to drill me with some good questions. And maybe a few others will jump on and help us. But over the last few days, I've had several opportunities to let's retry this here.
4 viewers over here.
Where's it going now?
It's not working.
No, it is now.
Can't be. I'm not even on Facebook.
It was working.
Could be me. You can go walk out, you said.
Yeah.
Sorry. Trying to fix the thing. No, I'm off.
Trump extends the quarantine to April 30th. Just now.
No, that's been-
That was just morning.
Oh, it was.
All right. Sorry about that. We're trying to get both of these technologies hooked up here. And, but as I'm messing with the technology, I've had a lot of people asking me over the last few days about, is this the try to go through and work on a few things here and see if we can figure this out with all of this. This may take some time to get back on. I'm using my old iPad, that's why. Is anybody on there yet?
We got 7 people over here.
Okay, good. Good. Again, if you have questions, go ahead and ask them. We're going to start in Revelation roughly chapter 4, and kind of go from there, and then kind of get into some of the seals, which I think is a lot of what people are seeing and thinking is going on. So if you have questions, feel free to type them in. Logan's going to be helping us out there on that situation. So in chapter 4, basically the first 3 chapters of Revelation of the churches are, the churches, dealing with the churches. And then 4, we kind of move off into heaven and earth combined. And so chapter 4 is basically heaven. It's the throne room of heaven and worshiping God and elders singing holy, holy, trying to open the seals. And the only one that can do that is the Lamb, and that's Jesus Christ that takes the seals, and he begins opening them. And there's a lot of deep theology behind that and teachings behind all of those seals and things like that. But the main thing is this, is that Jesus is the only one that is worthy. He's the worthy Lamb to be able to do that. And Christ has made him that perfect Lamb that was there. And so chapter 6, again, I know that's a super quick overview, and I know people want to see that, but I know most people want to get in and start talking about these seals and these judgments and things like this. So one of the things that a lot of people ask and a lot of people ask questions about is this virus part of some of the seal judgments, the trumpet judgments, or things like that? I would say is this, and this is what I say every time anybody ever asks me this question. What I can guarantee is this: we are closer to the end times today than we were yesterday. So we know that. So each day we're getting closer and closer to that. So what does that look like? And that's what we're going to kind of discuss. That's what we're going to kind of look at and try to figure out. And so if you have your Bibles, you can open them to Revelation chapter 6. And living creature saying with a voice like thunder, "Come and see." And I looked, and behold, a white horse. And he who sat on it had a bow, and a crown was given to him. And he went out conquering to conquer. And so the first one is, here's the white horse. And there's some people that say, well, this is Jesus, obviously, right? White horse, we think this is Jesus. We don't think it's Jesus because he went out to conquer and things like this. This is what a lot of people would say would be the Antichrist coming onto the scene. And so some things about that as you look at that. He was given a bow, but no arrows. So it's peace, white, peace. You think this ruler's coming in peace. I put a post on our Facebook page, if you want to scroll down and look at that, or on our Facebook page, about one of the world leaders yesterday, I believe it was, said we need a new world force to govern all of this coronavirus and everything, and to make sure that everything is going to go okay, and to get everything. Now, I know a lot of people, when they hear that, that scares people, because that's kind of what the role of the... Is he on the scene? That's the biggest question that people have. Do we know the Antichrist right now? Is he here in this world? I wish I could give a definite answer to that. I mean, I look at end time, and I look at these things coming, and I would say, yes, we probably have seen him, but I have a feeling people during Hitler's time and people at other times said the exact same thing, that he was on the scene here, and because we always thought the world was going to end there, or World War I, or World War II, or all of those battles. We always look back and we see that. And so there's this person that is coming. And he is coming, and he is going to bring peace. And he is going to bring peace to the whole world. And there is going to be a formation from all of this, where we have this one world government. We're going to have one world money, probably. And, are we closer to that? Yes, we're very close to that. What is the one world money? It's a MasterCard. It's a Visa. I mean, it's taken all over the world. That money is accepted anywhere in the world today. I can go to Istanbul, Turkey, and use my MasterCard, and it's going to be accepted, or Visa, or whatever it is. So we're, people say, well, we're never going to get to that one. We're there. We're already there. And so, yes, we are getting to that stage. Are we getting to a stage where we need this world peace? Some people thought that NATO was going to be this world government that was going to rule everything. And we've seen how NATO has turned out. Not the best of organizations at times. And Antichrist, I think, is number one. He's going to be a charismatic person or thing. He's going to be someone that everybody cares for. So we know that for a fact. We know that he's going to come in peace. We know that he's going to come to rule in a roundabout way. And one of the biggest things that I think that we see when we see things lining up is this. We're going to see peace in the Middle East. We're going to see Israel and things like that. So we see that there without any question, that this is what this person is going to do. Do we see that in the world today? I don't know that we see, or that charismatic person has come into play yet. I don't know that we've seen him or her, that they are out there, but they may be in the background. And maybe this virus, it's a possibility, could be part of the process of setting that up if you see the nations coming together. I don't know how well that was taken when the leader of the UK said, hey, we need a government system to organize all of this, but I have a feeling there's a lot of people that are saying, maybe we should check into this. Maybe we should think about this to protect our nation and things like that. So, that's who I believe. And, there's other people that say, well, some of this has already played out. And I don't know where you're at theology-wise and stuff like that, whether you believe that the rapture, I think different people believe. As you think about the book of Revelation, the church, the church is not going to be here for any of this. The church is going to be here, going to leave in the midpoint or mid-tribbers. And then some believe, well, after the tribulation, that the church is going to be taken out after then. And so I'm not going to get into the discussions of that theology right now. That's not what this is about. You have your own views there, time, to say the least. But this is what we believe, these few verses. So I guess my question is, are there questions about that? If there's any questions on there? Any questions at all anybody has? No?
Oh, yeah.
No questions yet? All right, well, that's good.
Tom said hi.
That's good. So anyway, this is this person coming on, conquering, to rule, to take over. Then verse 3 says, when he opened the second, and another horse, fiery, red, went out, and it was granted to one who sat on him to take peace from the earth, that people should kill one another. And there was given to him a great sword. So we have the first person coming in peace, which I think this goes to show deception. And then the second person here, or second thing that is given, I don't know that this is a person. I'm not going to say that each one of these are people that are coming and following here right now, but has the power to take away peace. I think this is one that I think we really need to look at kind of hard in today's world. Another went out and he was granted the one that sat upon to take part. And you think about the world that we live in, and the world that you live in, and the society that you live in. I think each one of us every day can open up our newspapers, if you still read the newspaper, or turn on the news station, or whatever it is. And in communities where you would never see death, violence, evil, Satan, is what I would say is we see here, even here in Indiana, what we think is a nice, back to a Bible thumping town. And yet every day we hear on the news of people that are killing one another, and killing one another with really no reason, no purpose whatsoever. And I know that that's not the world stage, and I get that, but at the same time, is it not world stage, but do we see more death, more violence, more evil in this world today? And I think without any question, we do. Now, this, again, this person that we talked about in the first couple of chapters, I think that the thing is, he's going to come on the scene to bring world peace. And I think that's going to be a total deception. And so that is going to change that. But, you read that last verse, part of verse 4 there, it says, and that people shall kill one another, and there was given to him a great sword. Do we see that every day? Yes. We're seeing that more today than I think we have in the last. Do we see senseless murders? Do we see murder for just murder's sake? Yes, we see that. And so, again, are we closer to end times? Yes. And I know some people will say, well, the rapture hasn't happened, so we can't be here. I think these things kind of happen so quick sometimes. So just, once one's in place, they just kind of go, except for some times of silence and things like that we'll study here later on those things. So again, I think that's part of it. So we have a question, I think.
Aaron wants to know, what about water sources being polluted and also earthquakes, since there have been a lot this year?
Okay, all right. Good question. Is there anything on Facebook? So, I can't see it, so just check and make sure there's no question on Facebook either. What are these seals? Yes, definitely we're sharing our water sources. There. Hold on. What's wrong?
I don't think it's on that one.
It says live.
Well, it's not on my phone.
Sorry, technical difficulties here. There it is. I think it's on now. It's the old iPad. It's all right. Just keep going. See if I put it on the phone. So yeah, this second seal, the violence and things like that, but Aaron's question about the water and things and different things polluted like that, yeah, I think that is part of. I think that's all part of this. And is that more? I think all of us are seeing that and things like that. So Floyd has maybe a question. I don't know. I'm asking Floyd. I'm putting him on the spot. Did you have a question?
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, good.
I thought this tribulation, all these seals and trumpets and stuff, took a period of 7 years.
That's the tribulation period.
And after that, or at the end of that, or in the seventh trumpet, is that when Jesus comes back? Because he sends his angels,
Right.
and those of us that are Christians to, during the early part of the tribulation. So I guess my question is, does Jesus come back at the end of the tribulation?
Well, I think that's when does Jesus come back? I think that's for the rapture. At some point, again, depending on what you believe, before the trib, middle of the trib, or some people believe before he even comes back. But then he comes back for a millennial reign after all of these things that are mentioned, basically chapter 6 through 8. As then we see Jesus starting to reign and he's going to rule, and Satan's going to be bound for Satanists are going to be bound for a time period. I don't think that's total destruction yet, but there's going to be a time period when Jesus is going to reign. Now, if you believe that Jesus is going to come back, take his church out, and then start his reign at the same time, and that just depends on how you believe. But yeah, he is going to.
But Christians go through the tribulation as well as the unbelievers, because we're being persecuted and martyred, and still some 144,000
Right.
or something left to try to bring what unbelievers they can to
Right.
faith. And
Right. Yeah.
is that true?
Yeah, there's 144 witnesses that are here on earth, and that's why some people are going to say, well, Christians are not here on the earth. Not all Christians are here on the earth. Some have been raptured out, and so some people would say that you don't have this, and so there's witnesses left and things like that. to do that. Christians are taken out before this happens, then all of this that we're seeing here in 6 through 8, no Christian that believed before it happened
I don't know how we could believe that
would see any of that.
myself.
So, and then if you believe, then we're going to see the teaching of it. And maybe we need to get into the mid-trib and pre-trib and post-trib stuff later on and talk about that, because that's important to understand. And so, there are people that believe that, there are some people that believe that this has already been lived out. I mean, that we're going through all of this stuff right now, which, again, as you see it, the only problem is leader, that Antichrist person yet, and that's brought world peace. It's made a deal to be partners with Israel that will, go back on that view. So I think that this is preparing these 7 seals are maybe, again, what I believe is I believe that we're probably taken out of here in the middle of the tribulation. So I think we experience some of these, but not all of these.
Not the more severe ones.
Yeah, is what I would say.
Trumpets or the.
Right. Yeah, I would say we're going to be taken out here in the middle of some of these things. So that's good to look at. So let's go to the 3rd seal real quick. And the 3rd seal, I heard it, 3rd living creature say, "Come and see." So I looked, and behold, and a black horse, and he who had sat on it had a pair of scales in the hand, and heard a voice in the midst of a 4 living creature saying, "A quart of wheat for denarius, and 3 quarts of barley for denarius, and do not harm the oil or the wine." Obviously, I mean, there's some, a quart of wheat is probably what's necessary for one person to, at least in these times, necessary for a person to eat off of for a one day, basically, is kind of the amount of food. And then a denario is a day's wages and those things. So basically, one would work a day to provide enough food for self. So 3 quarts usually is this. This is the thing about this. This is not the healthiest food that is out there, I don't think. This was kind of given to some of the animals and different things like that, the quarts and things like that. But he said, one of the things that the person at Open says, do not hurt or do not harm the more precious. Obviously, in that time period, the more precious was oil and wine. What is that for us today? I don't know if it's oil and wine today for us. Is there a shortage in the world today? If you look in the supermarkets today, yeah. I mean, I think that's is what you heard. But is that normal? I think we have lots of food here, at least in America. Now, other places, I don't think that food is as plentiful as it is here in the United States. And so is that, again, things will have to be rationed out. Things will be changed here on this earth. People will literally be starving to death. We've done a few things with homeless, and I do know this, that there are more homeless people here in the United States today than ever before. I know that for a fact. Yes, another question.
These seals and trumpets, 1 through 7 of each, all these figures of 7, they don't happen necessarily in that order, do they? Or isn't it kind of all, some of it at least, until you get to the last trumpets, I guess, suddenly be out of food? Over time, it's gonna.
Yeah, it's kind of simultaneous. I mean, is what I would say, simultaneously, like almost not. Is the last trumpet judgment going to happen before the last seal judgment? No, I don't think that's going to. I think the seals have to be open. I mean, I think the order of the scripture has to be there. So I don't think you're going to have a seal open and then a trumpet open and a seal open. So, I mean, there is a process that they go through in
Do they not? in
some order, but just
Do
sometimes.
they not in some ways represent the same thing?
I don't know that it's the same thing. I mean, some of it seems to be the same, but you know, when you get to the more harsh ones, you're seeing more death, you're seeing more vegetation, you're seeing more water, you're seeing more of all of that being totally taken away from that. So,
It says, why do you think we'll be taken out in the middle?
why do I think that? Who asked that question?
Man,
I think the first part of it is I don't know that we're going to see. I don't know that we're going to see the harsh wrath of God until the midpoint. I think the first 3.5 years of the tribulation are going to be, I don't think it's going to be a piece of cake, but I think the first 3.5 years of the tribulation are going to be, we're going to be able to survive.
You got saints being martyred in the fifth seal.
That's past saints, I think. And so the reason I think that you know, we're going to be, I think the bad stuff starts happening. So I think we will be going. I don't think we're going to experience as believers. I don't think we're going to experience the wrath of God as much as the other judgments and trumpets are going to be.
I don't think we'll experience the wrath of God at all, per
Right.
se, but we're going to go through the wrath of non-believers.
Right. We're going to experience some of this. I don't think we're going to
Try
experience all of
present
it. Right.
the gospel and bring people to Christ.
Right. And I think that's why you're going to see the 144,000 and things like that to come on the scene and be witnesses. I don't know that the earth is going to be populated with, you know, believers and things like that. And so that's why I just believe I used to be a take me out of here before the rapture, before any of this started happening. And because mainly the wrath of God starts kicking in about midway through, the first 3.5 years are pretty, I mean, they're not great years, but they're not super bad years neither. And those things. And so, you know, we'll be able to survive, I guess, is what I would say on that, and those things. So then you have the fourth seal, which is widespread death on the earth. Again, when he opened the fourth seal, I heard a voice of the living creature saying, "Come and see." So I looked, and behold, a pale horse, and the name that sat on him was Death, and Hades followed with him. And the power was given to him over a fourth of the earth to kill with a sword, with hunger, with death, and by the beasts of the earth. And so here you're going to see, again, a lot of here with death, with pain, with punishment that's going to be inflicted. Again, I think that I think the Antichrist behind the scenes is orchestrating every bit of this. And I think it's you know, I kind of didn't share it, but I think it's an amazing concept that in chapter 5, we're talking about the Christ. In chapter 6, we talk about the Antichrist. And so he comes on the scene. So he wants to be, and he's always wanted to be, a ruler. And Satan has always wanted to have that power and have those things. So you're going to see death set in to a lot of the world. Again, is that something that we see in the world today? You know, I don't know what I don't keep up with all the numbers of the stuff that's happening with death and things in the world today. But you know, one thing I will say about today is without an outside influence, is what I would say. Without a Antichrist, without a seal opening, we are seeing people in the world today live longer than they've ever lived. I mean, we are seeing people, we're removing the retirement age, or we were going to longer, and that's, because of medicines, because maybe healthy living, because of all of those things. And so as you look at that, you say, okay, well, if you look at the world today, we are living longer, yet when we have disease, hunger that's here, murder, which is here, violence, which is here, different things that are given in this fourth seal, you're seeing more and more of that come into play in the world that we live in today. And people are making that choice. We're not closer to the end times. But because there are so many outside agents today, death is real. Death is happening at a greater pace because of these outside agents, especially during this time period when the Antichrist and his rulers come on with him and meet with him. Can you imagine over a fourth of the earth is what we're looking at? Again, I don't know the numbers for world, but a fourth. And, people say, well, is that, we're not close to that with coronavirus right now. I mean, that's not even, on the horizon. That number is not there. So it's not like, obviously we're fearful, we're worried about the virus, but that virus is not going to take out a fourth of our world for that pain. Now, if you add in violence, if you add in hunger, if you add in those other things that are mentioned here in this passage, then you're going to get up to a fourth of our population fairly quick in understanding those things. And so that's part of that. I'll go ahead and do one more, and then we'll come back tomorrow night at the same time, same bat channel. It says, when I opened the fifth seal, I saw under the altar the souls of those who had been slain for the word of God and for their testimony which they held. And they cried with a loud voice, saying, how long, O Lord, holy and true, our blood on those who dwell on the earth? And a white robe was given to each of them, and it was said to them that they should rest a little while longer until both the number of fellow servants and their brethren who would be killed as they were was completed. So we have saints who I believe in heaven that have stood up for the name of Christ, that have been mocked, ridiculed, martyred, whatever, made fun of because of the name of Jesus, wanting revenge on the world. And these people are crying out, vengeance, Lord, vengeance, Lord. And this is one of the reasons that I would say, God's saying just a little bit longer before the vengeance comes, before my wrath totally comes. It's coming, but it's not there yet. But it's coming. So be patient is what's told to them, and understanding those things. This kind of, I think, again, this is my teaching, this is my thing. This kind of right here is the midpoint of the tribulation. This right in this area is where they're crying out, and those things. So if you want to look at a time period, this is probably 3.5 years roughly is the time period. So all of that and Satan and Antichrist ruling. And so you're getting this time. So again, this is where I would say, okay, now we as the church that are left here on earth will be taken out. So Christ will come, meet us in the clouds for right now. It's not his second coming to the earth. We've got to remember that. This is not him coming back to the earth. This is his time to come and get the church. And that's, again, depending on what you believe, here, before, or after, depending on what you believe about that. Christ is coming to take us through any of those things. Basically, these are people that are martyred for their faith, is what we have, is people who have stayed true to the word, have not given in. And I know some of us here in America, we tend to look at this and we think, well, that's not that big of a number. I mean, we don't think about that number here in the United States, because here in the United States, we don't see that the martyr as much. That loses their life for the name of Christ, yes, it happens here in the United States. We think back to Columbine High School. We hear stories every once in a while where people have said, if you don't deny your faith, they're being killed, and things like that. So do we see that here in the United States? Yes, we see people dying because of their faith here in the United States. But as much as we see that here in the United States, it is nothing. I mean, nothing compared to the world. And if you look at the world, and if you look back to church history, and you look back at those things, the numbers are astounding of how many people have, and still to this day, lose their life because of the name of Jesus Christ. And that number is huge. And this is them in heaven saying, Lord, you, not me, but the way they've treated you. They've mocked your name. They've made fun of your name, and they're crying out. And yet God says, be patient. Christ says, be patient. It's coming, and understanding that. And so, that's the fifth seal. And what do we say, and what do we have, and what do we do? And is Corona part of all of this? Again, as I said, I think it's possible. Are things lining up? Yes, things are definitely lining up. Is that going to happen in the next 2 years, 10 years, 20 years? I don't know. I wish I could say definitely. What I would say is this: if you're a believer, is there's no fear, because what we get to see is we get to see the end, and we win. At the end, we get the win, and so we don't have to fear that thing. And what I would say is this: is if you're an unbeliever, then guess what? You still have time today. And today is the day of salvation. Today is the time to say yes, if you don't want to experience these things. Today is you tomorrow. But we do have time today. And so I would say today is the day of salvation for you. But as a believer, and that's where I hope we as a church understand, I don't have to fear, because I win with Christ. And so as scared as some people are, and some believers are, and it's sad that believers are that scared. We shouldn't be that scared, because we have Christ, and we know that we win, and no one to be stupid and do dumb things and say bring it on and stuff like that. We are wise in that, but we also know that we win with God. And so what I would encourage you to do is just kind of read ahead a little bit, and we'll kind of recap real quick tomorrow, then we'll come back in. And if we need to spend more time doing this, then we'll spend some more time doing this. And if you have questions, send them over. You can email them to me. You can text them just put them on our webpage, and or put them on our Facebook page, put them on the channel here on YouTube, and we'll be able to get them and any of that. So is there any more questions before nope, we're good? All right. Any questions out of the peanut gallery? No? No. That's kind of what I was hoping. So read ahead is what I would tell you.